All right, well, it's a late night, so I have a little bit of time, so I thought I might as well do the next one at this time instead of waiting until the hours of the daylight. In my last one, I talked about the Fett offer 20 backs and their great variability of the card backs due to the stickers that were placed on them. Now, what I'm going to go over for a little bit is actually the mailer itself. Okay, so when you did send off, well, let's just, again, the free Boba Fett, you sent in 4 proofs of purchase to this, lovely address in Maple Plain, Minnesota. You've got some proofs of purchase here. You send off 4 and they send you, or at least hopefully they sent you the Fett mailer. Now, of course, what you would end up getting in the mail is this, white box, address label, but really nothing else on there. The magic of this box was this number right on the sticker right here, the 123-002. That at least identified it for all of us as being definitely the Boba Fett. Okay, so now the big question is, okay, you get the box. Most kids, including myself, I think I ordered 4 of these when I was a kid, and I couldn't get enough of them. But anyways, when you open the box, there was, of course, contents, of course. The most important content was, of course, the Fett figure itself, and it came in a baggie. And, of course, those baggies, there's a couple of different types. There are 3 main types. And then there's at least in the U.S., and then there are 2 other types in the U.S. that are, how would I put it, a lot of debate about it in terms of, is it a SW/B asterisk? Is it a ROTJ J? Is it a, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to show kind of what the possibilities are and what's out there. So anyway, of course when you get this, and we have some sealed examples, depending on how much acrylic you like to be around, you can get the small acrylic, or you can really get the big acrylic, and if you really want to be boisterous, you can actually even put the CIB letter in here, which is a little much, but that's fine. I think most people put this up just to get Tom Derby's signature here shown. But anyways, so, if you're lucky enough to get sealed versions of them, they're always, I think, very interesting. Just because you don't really know what's inside. You could have some magic in there of sorts. But anyways, so what came in, of course, the bag Fett, there was a note that came to the customers, and the main reason for this was to explain why the hell the rocket didn't fire, because, of course, everyone thought that was going to be the case. So this is basically an apology note, and this went with all of them. And then, of course, the other sort of little tricky thing that was included were catalogs. Now, there's a little bit of a debate on which catalogs came at which time. The 2 main Star Wars catalogs, of course, the little pink one, and there are actually variations of the pink one, whether you get a sealed edge, or there's a stitched edge. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And again, people can argue about the details on which of these little pink catalogs actually came first. And again, I'm not here to debate that, just to show that the pink catalog was thought to be the first catalog included. And then the second Star Wars catalog was the larger one, of course, with the infamous scenes on the front of the X-Wings and the Death Star, and of course Vader's TIE Fighter. Anyways, and then of course later on in the offer, as it sort of bled over from 1979 into 1980, well, of course, The Empire Strikes Back was coming out, and the last set of mailers that went out actually were ESB mailers. And in fact, the baggie that the Fett normally came in was an ESB baggie, which fits with an ESB catalog. Anyways, So it came with catalogs, the apology note, and then, of course, the bag fet itself. So we'll just go over some, and again, this is more to highlight kind of the ones that I have, but we'll go over several ones, at least the U.S. release, and then we can dip on over into the UK releases. But anyways, so really what was, let me get, so as most people know and sometimes get frustrated with, there are baggie types, okay? And the baggie types supposedly have an underlying, let's say, chronology to them. SWB was before SWD. Now, first of all, what the heck is it SWB? The true sort of original, what everyone thinks is the original SWB, is this one right here. Okay, and you can see the font is sort of spread out. It's in a vertical direction. This was thought to be the first baggie. However, the other sort of argument that this was not necessarily the first one is the, how would I like to call it? It's kind of like the mystery, the light green colored chest plate. Everyone seems to think that was kind of Kenner experimenting with colors to see what might work, what was better, but have never seen a light green armor in one of these. And so sort of begs the question about, okay, which one's really first? Most people, again, will say that this one's first, but that just kind of adds to the mystery of, was it a factory issue? Did different factories put out different baggies? I don't think anyone really has a clear answer for that. So anyway, so that's just interesting. But this is an exceptionally hard baggie to find. Even more difficult to find it in a mailer set. So, but luckily, I have one. Okay, now the interesting thing about this sample, kind of what's most important is, of course, the baggie. This is another SWB baggie, original, thought to be the original font, whatever. Is that this setup included a large catalog. Well, you remember that, everyone thought that the pink catalog was first, and it makes sense in the history of the catalogs that the pink would be first. But anyways, this was placed with the large catalog. So that kind of, brings up the thought and theory also is that, did this combination even really exist? There are some people that swear by it because they were old enough to remember exactly what they were opening when they opened it. There are others that say there's no way because this catalog was certainly way later than the production of this baggie, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of controversy about that in terms of timing, but who really cares, right? I mean, it's kind of it's cool to see the different pieces together. I certainly have a very wide variety of combinations of catalogs and baggie types and all this other stuff. The other thing that's very interesting is that this particular box doesn't have an address label. And so you got to think, well, is this an overstock box, or is this basically come from the factory before the labels were printed, blah, blah. You make up what you want about it. But it's just an interesting sort of combination. Hey, Shane. So that's kind of that baggie type. Now, the most common baggie type is, of course, the SWD. Now, the SWD is this one. Okay, this is the one that you see most often. So it has the horizontal made in Hong Kong. And then, of course, this whole setup was probably the most common, or at least the most commonly accepted combination of stuff. You got your small pink catalog, you've got of course, your apology note, you've got your SWD baggie, and then, of course, you have, once again, your nice mailer box, addressed. Most people are very, how would I put it, very respectful to the people that these were sent to. What's interesting about this particular one to me that I got from someone watching right now down under is that this was a town. This is actually came to a town that I used to live in, so that's why this was actually kind of doubly cool when I did receive it. But anyways, and so that was the small pink catalog. This is the same SWD with the large catalog. Again, just to highlight the combination. And then let's see, is this one? I'm just looking at all these ones that I have are variations of a similar theme. I'm trying to think why this one. I think this is not one. But so once they started sending these out, of course, this was an extraordinarily popular mail-in. Obviously, it wasn't the first mail-in. Obviously, the early bird was the first mail-in. Well, their production kind of got behind, and so they had to start sending out additional apologies like this one. Okay, now what this says basically is, unfortunately, due to delays in manufacturing, it's going to be a big delay on your figure. And so they would send these out, and then, of course, about 6 weeks later, hopefully someone would receive their figure. Now, I was lucky enough to come into, and that's why I have this other one. I was trying to figure out what was unique about it. The unique thing about it was that this apology postcard actually goes with this mailer. And so the person kept the apology card and then, of course, got the mailer in. And I was very fortunate enough to add this to my variation collection of Fett mailers. So I was very, 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 very happy with that. So, of course, in the manufacturing of these is that there are certainly mistakes that can be made. Okay. So one of the mistakes that can be made is this one right here. Again, small peak catalog, apology note, SWD baggie, is that this baggie has 2 weapons in it. So we've all seen sort of variations where you get the wrong blaster. This one happens to have 2 of the appropriate blasters in the baggie. So I thought this was a very cool variation of the Fett mailer. Now, the one I was talking about before, the figure that kind of brought up a little bit of controversy in terms of timing of baggies, is the light green chest. I don't know if you can see that on camera. There's too much of a glare, kind of. But anyways, this was a mailer with the light green chested. Again, as I said before, it's in the SWD baggie. And so that brought up a kind of a thing that, okay, there's never been a light green chested carded Fett found, and there's never been a light green chested SWB baggie found, as far as I know. I mean, I could be completely wrong. But anyway, so this figure was kind of brought up the debate about, which baggie type came first, or was this produced in a different factory, or what was Kenner doing with the color schemes, blah, blah, blah. So, all right. So I talked about there were some variations in some of the baggies. So this was just one variation that came up, and that is, it's still vertical writing, but a different font. This baggie supposedly came sort of in the middle of the production run. At least that's what I understand. People will argue with, did this come later, or is this more of an ROTJ baggie, which didn't make sense in terms of the timeline. So this is a baggie type that's very, there's a lot of debate in terms of in the Fett mailers, whether or not it was even included in the Fett mailers. But apparently there have been a few people that have actually opened sealed Fett mailers and have found this particular baggie type. And in particular, you can find them in the Popey Fetts in Japan. So this baggie type was, as far as I'm concerned, was confirmed to be in the Star Wars ESB transition era to have existed. So not being a, let's say, chronologically ROTJ baggie. Anyways, so that's kind of one of the interesting debates that is out there. Now, of course, the mailer box was the most common way that these were sent, but they were sent at one time later on in the Jiffy mailers. And so this is a very nice example of that Jiffy mailer. It's in outstanding condition, again with a SWD baggie, large catalog, so on and so forth. Now, as we get sort of into the transition period of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, they started including, you get a sweepstakes coupon that came in the mailer along with the catalog and the figure, and this just sort of highlights that one again. Lots of acrylic. So as we get more into the, as the Fett offer was extended, it extended into the time where we had the Empire Strikes Back. So of course the Fett offer changed into the ESB version, and so this being an ESB A baggie, and again the ESB catalog, again same standard mailer box there. Now, as far as the UK was concerned, there were basically box mailers that went out in England, and of course they were a little bit different in several ways. Supposedly there was no apology note with those. The boxes were pretty clearly marked. Most of them had basically a number 2 on them, and then of course the address. And the baggie type that was included could be one of the standard U.S. baggies, or there's some other rare Palatoy baggies that were included with the mailers. And this is just one example of a Palatoy mailer with a Palatoy bag. Or I have another one, which is another Palatoy box with the 2 here, except this is basically a SWD baggie. This was just a mock-up made with the Palatoy Boba Fett ad here, again with the large catalog and the apology note. All right. So that's kind of my tour of the single Fett mailers. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something. You saw, my collection of them. I've got a few more that are there, but they're just sort of, like I said, variations on the theme. Once again, I just want to wish everybody a good night. Stay safe. Do what's necessary to get us through this. And I'm sure we'll talk again. I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about next time. Hopefully I'm going to get some sleep pretty soon. All right. See y'all later. Bye.